People ask often, like, Joseph, you go to the whiteboard and why do you do these things? Well, because I have an unction. I actually had a dream from the Lord, and this is interesting. I gotta share this with you. This just came to me. I had a dream. I'll share this, then I'm gonna go into the other things I see. I had a dream over the last several months, over the last year. And this dream, I have not shared this on here, consisted of, I was walking into an arena. I've only dreamt about an arena 2 times. One involved a new move of God, and this arena involved a global shift. Okay? A change. Now, I'm going to let you interpret this because I'm going to walk through this the best I can, but please interpret this to the best of your ability. I need your discernment. I need you to pray with me. Had this dream and I was walking into an arena. And as I was, the Manchurian Candidate was walking out. I was walking in. I could just suppose draw it like so. The arena, you know, and you can see the other side of it there. This is probably a terrible photo of it. But you realize I was walking in and he was exiting the arena. I was going in, he was walking out. And as I walked into the door, and I was in the doorway of this arena, and of course, this is the size of a stadium where you'd see football, Coliseum, all these things. And as I'm walking in, suddenly he saw me and began to explode at me verbally, began to yell at me, began to say, "You're wrong, you can't allow this, you can't do this to me, you can't do this." And he was throwing a rage fit because he was leaving the arena and I was walking in. And the Spirit of the Lord began to share something with me. And from there, I walked in and I just kind of got past all the accusations, the yelling, the behavior of that character. And once I was in the area of the arena, I got in and there was, for lack of a better word, there was these, bleacher seating on each side, on the inside. Bleacher seating, and you know how you go through the tunnel, so to speak, and you come in, and the next thing you know, you're going up the seating. All that, and that's what I was doing. I was walking up the bleachers, and when I got in there, Spirit of the Lord showed me something dramatic. That there would come a time, number one, when the Manchurian's time was over, he was exiting, we'd go in the arena. And when I walked in, something very unique happened to me. And it just came back to me as I was standing here looking at this. As I walked in, suddenly, there was a prophetic movement happening in the world and in the arena, and it was a new arena. And as I walked in, many people had whiteboards. And they were drawing on whiteboards. As a matter of fact, the steps I was going up were all whiteboards. And people were trying to do whiteboarding. And there's all this scenario happening. And the Lord began to speak to me and say, there are many echoes, but that character. And once I was in the area of the arena, I got in and there was, for lack of a better word, there was these, bleacher seating on each side, on the inside. Bleacher seating, and you know how you go through the tunnel, so to speak, and you come in, and the next thing you know, you're going up the seating, all that. And that's what I was doing. I was walking up the bleachers. And when I got in there, Spirit of the Lord showed me something dramatic. That there would come a time, number one, when the Manchurian's time was over, he was exiting, we'd go in the arena. And when I walked in, something very unique happened to me. And it just came back to me as I was standing here looking at this. As I walked in, suddenly, there was a prophetic movement happening in the world and in the arena, and it was a new arena. And as I walked in, many people had whiteboards. And they were drawing on whiteboards. As a matter of fact, the steps I was going up were all whiteboards, and people were trying to do whiteboarding, and there's all this scenario happening. And the Lord began to speak to me and say, there are many echoes, but not many true voices. Many echoes, but not original voices. And the Lord is saying to me that there's going to come a movement where the fathers, stand up and they begin to bring truth. And during the time of the exit of the Manchurian Candidate will come the season where the real voices will come in the midst of echoes and lead them. And they will lead them. And I began to see this, and even right now, I'm caught up in this moment and seeing that the real voices are going to begin to rise in a transition. Mark the word of the Lord as the Manchurian leaves. When that time comes, now or later, there will be a season where the real voices step up and stand in the midst of echoes. And the real voices will lead. And the Lord began to speak to me and say, many people will try to do what originators do, and it's okay. In the middle of originators, or in the middle of that setting, there will be those that try to do what the original has done, and it is okay. But the Lord said to me, make no mistake, there's only one original to each movement. But it is a complement of multiplication to that movement. And so I saw that. So when he goes out, the fathers are going in. When the Manchurian's out, the fathers or, he's going out. This is the Manchurian leaving. It rhymes with Biden. And he's going out, but the fathers will go into the arena. So, this is him leaving here, and this is the fathers going into the arena. Now, it's an interesting concept the Lord showed me, that when this happens, it's going to be a right-sizing season. Now, I wanted to just share that with you because I believe there's going to be a lot of people trying to change things up, be something, imitate, but the Holy Spirit is saying there will come true, legitimate voices that stand up in this transition. And I believe that we're in for a year and a half of transition, regardless of who goes into office. I believe that's what's coming through that process. Now, I wanted to say something about this, and it's going to be important. Let me grab one thing here. And I believe this is going to be a very potent season. So let me go ahead and get rid of this. I'm going to share what I believe is happening on the frontier ahead of us, where this is really going to go. Okay, many of you have seen me draw this before, but I'm going to elaborate on something. You've seen this, that picture, the storm, in the picture, and all the things that were happening with this. Really serious stuff going on. The 30, 60, 100-fold, you've seen that. The new America. I believe that we're going through this storm, coming to the other side to a new America. It's the time of reformation. I also believe that we're headed for a season of prolonged prolonged mercy. Even with all the craziness that's going to happen. And why do I say that? Because in this time frame, there is a flood that's coming. Okay? This is a wave, like a tidal wave, but there is a flood coming, and it's going to wash away. It's going to wash away a lot of the filth and unrighteousness, and it's going to expose. It's going to cleanse and expose. Some of the correction to these things, should Jesus tarry, will take a whole generation. That doesn't mean we don't get to live in the goodness of God during it, but it does mean that there's going to come a cleansing and an exposing, but it could take a whole generation to overturn this mess. Now, let me come back to something that I do know. Okay? This represents the year that we're in. This being January, this being July. Okay? That's just to give kind of scope and perception and where we're at with it. At the beginning of the year that we're in, I began to see many things that would happen, and there would be a breaking loose of, many of you know this, of new characters. Okay? And I believe a lot of this during this time frame is going to involve what's going to happen with this guy, this character here. Will he make the hurdle? Will he go into the fall time with victory? I believe a lot of this is going to depend on what we now know is going to be what is announced in Chicago. What are they going to announce in Chicago? Well, we got to find out. We're praying about this. This is something that's going on. At the beginning of the year, I heard this, that there would be these things that they would try to induce new characters in Chicago. And I remember praying that at this point here, midsummer, mid-year, whatever, that we'd have to pray. So at the end of the year, at the end of the summer rather, we'd have to pray because there could be an announcement here that makes this a very difficult hurdle for 45 to come over, okay? Could be a very difficult hurdle to get to that. Now, regardless of what's going on, one of the things I'm really praying about is October, that we don't have a difficult October and a dark November. Okay? So these are the things I'm looking at. Now, December is going to be a whole nother scenario, but I believe if we get through this, and this is where I wanted to go, should we get through all this, I believe that we're going to go past this season and right into the following year, of course. And as we go into this following year, I believe it's going to be a very bumpy ride filled with fire. Okay? Fire. Okay? A lot of fire in this year. And you say, well, what is the fire over? I believe that everything around this year is going to be involved with conversations about money. They're going to talk about real estate. That's going to be a big conversation throughout this year. You're going to see that. But at the same time, there's going to be more and more conversation about tech. This year will be dominated by tech and AI. Okay? This whole year. Now, in this whole year of fire, seeing this continue on, and then I see it cycling back around, and there's going to be fire, and people are going to kind of catch their breath during the holiday season, but it will continue to another year, of course. And I have a great sense that in this year, things are going to begin to right size and begin to get more clear, and order is going to come from whatever nonsense has been going on. We're going to begin to find a new normal somewhere in this section here. Okay? I hope this is making sense, how this is operating. So, you know, these years just keep going, of course. Here we are. I believe this year is going to be dominated through this kind of conversation. I believe that there's going to be the threat of elevated war. I see war, and then war extinguished. Because there's going to come this right-sizing time frame here. And in this phase here, it's like there's going to be a right-sizing. We're going to start to find the new normal during this midway through this, I guess this would be 26, pick up sticks, right? But one of the hallmarks of all of it, is going to be this extreme weather.